physicist, CERN. I've always dreamed of being a physicist. Hi.
How are you doing, Brian?
As I said, you're who I wanted to be.
The feeling is mutual. I'd be quite happy being you as well.
Part of the responsibility of smart angel investing is asking the tough questions. I'd like to start the questioning with you is about your business. Yep. Is it a business or is this an experiment?
It's without question a business. It's a data business. That's what we are about, collecting data that is otherwise impossible to get and impossible to get with existing satellite platforms and selling that data on Earth.
So let me be clear. You have a specific experiment that will produce data. Whose experiment is this?
Mine, ours.
So yours. Is most of the experiments that are going to be conducted your own, or are you soliciting outside experiments?
We have used a particular need, which is on the education side, for launching the company and getting it off the ground and getting satellites into space very quickly. The underlying technology product that we are developing for the company, which is for our angel investors and institutional investors, is always been behind the scenes of that, not necessarily visible to the public at all.
Yeah, I'm still very confused. You need to find people who want to conduct experiments in space, right? Let's go through this clearly.
That is, as I said, this is the education story, which is the frontline product that the public see that we are providing for schools and students. And it is a platform behind which we have built the technology and are rolling out the technology for the enterprise data product, which has been the goal and focus of the company from the start, and the reason why we have been able to raise our money. We have not raised our money on providing schools access to our satellites, which
let's go back to the enterprise data product.
That is not a scalable business, or it doesn't scale very quickly.
Right, so the enterprise data product is dependent on you. You're the ones who are going to do the experiments on behalf of others who are looking for particular data, so you're driven by a company who says, I'm looking for this data, then you create the experiment for them?
That is correct. There's particular data sources that is where there is a demand, an existing demand, where people are scrambling to get that data, and our satellite platform can provide and will provide that data.
And how robust a platform is this? How broad a basis of experimentation can you do?
Yeah, it is built upon the CubeSat standard, which is the single fastest developing standard there is. It has the largest number of people across the world building components for it that feed into that CubeSat standard. It's very similar to what happened when we moved from that non-standard mainframe down to PCs, where you suddenly had rapid innovation across the world with companies providing components at 3 orders of magnitude below.
Who specifically wants it? Who's paying for it? How much does it cost? And what's the ongoing relationship with the company after the experiment? The
collection of weather input data for weather forecasting is a $4 billion story in the U.S. alone. 92% of all data that goes into weather forecasting is satellite collected. So one of the companies
yes, please.
So one of the companies that is interested in our data is NOAA itself, but it's also other companies that are in the weather forecasting business, like Climate Court, Weather Channel, Genscape, some hedge funds. There is a weather hedging business of about $15 billion in the U.S. going on. All of those companies.
But forgive me, you're giving me very high level. I'm asking for something. This is the second time I've asked it. Give me a specific company, a specific challenge, a specific experiment. What do they pay? How do you charge them? Make it a business for me.
NOAA is a company. The Weather Channel is a company. The Climate Corporation is a company. Hedge funds are companies. Those are specific companies that are purchasing weather data. For example, temperature, pressure, precipitation. There's some other kinds. Those are inputs that you can deliver from a technology called GPS radio occultation, which our platform can. Currently, the amount of those GPS radio occultation information that is available in the market is limited and not sufficient for those companies. The total amount paid for weather information from satellites is $4 billion in the US. That's market size and specific.
You're still not answering my question.
Then I don't understand your question, because I've given you companies and I've given you market and I've given you the data. Which part are you not? Are you missing?
No. I asked specifically, what would the individual company pay? How do you charge for it? What kind of data you provide after the experiment? Give me the specifics of a real live relationship between you and a company.
We charge for the data. And for example, on a GPS radio occultation is per radio occultation. So we would deliver a service level of delivering to them 50,000 GPS radio occultation per day, and they would pay us an amount of money. And I can't unfortunately disclose those amounts of money on air publicly. But to give you a sense of how much NOAA is spending currently on getting radio weather data from satellites, it is $4 billion annually.
All right, so it's not good enough for me as an angel investor. You have this data available? I could talk to you offline?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So now tell me, how many individual customers do you have now?
We don't have any individual customers for the enterprise data because there is a certain minimum requirement of number of satellites launched. We have conversations with those customers and working on signed LOIs of the form of, if Peter delivers this data, we will buy this data for X.
How many satellites are expanding currently? How many are you going to be launching?
So we have launched 2 satellites that are right now on the ISS. Unfortunately, they have not been launched from the ISS to collect data, but they are in space, they are launched, they've passed all the certifications.
How many do you need?
You need 15 satellites to have like a very, very compelling product, which would be better than anything that exists today.
And when do you expect the 15 to be up?
End of next year.
That's a guesstimate, and then what's that based on?
That is based on available launch slots, and is basically solely driven by availability of capital.
And what does it cost per satellite?
The cost per satellite is significantly less than $500,000.
Yeah, Peter, this has been very, very hard for me, and I spend a lot of time in this space to understand. So it's been a short period of time, and I certainly appreciate that. Offline, we'll talk a little bit more, because I'm certainly very curious. But it's not clear to me exactly what it is the business is, how robust it is, and how scalable it is. So thank you ever so much.
Thanks, Brian.